Welcome everybody to another episode of Fun with Dumb. I feel really great today because the whole crew is back together, and we have a very special guest that a lot of us have different relationships with in different periods of our lives. Especially me and Rick has known her, I would probably say 12 years, 10
pretty
years?
Pretty
long time.
Yeah.
I would say longer than most acquaintances that we have in our circles, you know. And she is one of the biggest female producer DJs in the world.
Shit.
No.
You know,
Talk that shit.
and she is someone we've been proud of for a very long time. Steffie Baik, DJ in the world. TOKiMONSTA.
Toki, baby.
Thank you for coming, Toki. What a lot of people don't know is actually we did an episode, and the producer I was working with at the time lost the file. They actually deleted the file. He was really ashamed, and I felt really bad too. Like I was kind of pissed, but things happen. Things happen, and
just wasted 2 hours of her life, you know.
Yeah, so I never told.
Wasn't a waste.
I never told Toki too. I never texted her and was like, "Yo, my bad. Like we didn't delete." I was like, maybe she just won't notice for a while.
Did you notice?
No,
actually, I probably didn't mind because I remember thinking like, man, I feel like I dressed bad that day or something. I was like, I hope it takes them a while to post it because I'm not sure. I hope people don't watch that one. But now it's good because we get a redo.
And we get a redo. Plus, all the equipment is higher quality.
Baby.
The studio's brighter, the cameras are better, and 2 years have passed, and there's more things that's happened.
For sure.
But TOKiMONSTA, thank you for coming on the show. Okay.
The slow clap.
Yeah, the slow clap.
But where does it go from there? There's only 3 people. It doesn't go anywhere from there.
Jen, how are you?
I'm good. Just out here doing this right now.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk to you because I feel like you're in a good place because you've been dropping some self-care gems on Twitter. And I'm not kidding you guys. If you guys don't follow her on Twitter, follow it because they're really good.
Yeah,
they're dead ass good.
Yeah.
So where has this been coming from? You've always been positive, but I feel like last year or two, there's been some gems you've been dropping.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's just times are hard. People usually Twitter is amazing because a lot of people say funny shit. People say controversial shit. You get to catch people right before they get canceled or something, But there's still space for some good things, positive things that remind you that you can relate to other people instead of feeling like someone's so separate than you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just started doing that mostly because, people just ask you for advice or you got these thoughts that you tell yourself to keep you grounded. And I was like, I'll just post it.
Yeah.
Just post them. And then they do pretty good.
I love it. Your energy has been very, very positive for a long time. And you play so many you play a lot of festivals, right, that have that kind of vibe too, a very positive hippie vibe.
Yeah, you mean raves?
well, raves in general, but particularly Lib or something like that.
Yeah,
That's a little bit more even that.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bit of that hippie Burning Man kind of vibe. And just, it's 2021. There's this one side where there's so much, we are facing so much negativity and all this really harsh, brutal, I guess the most honest side of the worst part of people.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, there's this other side where everyone, I feel like it's no one wants to say the word woke anymore because it's turned into a weird thing. But people are more conscious of their feelings and more communicative. I see 20-year-olds being you know what, I'm just not ready to be your boyfriend or girlfriend. There's no let's wait 4 days to text someone back. And it's they don't do that anymore.
I like that. Young people
Yeah,
being
yeah.
I just gotta grow first. That's a very mature thing to approach relationships.
I respect where you're coming from, but I'm just not ready yet.
Yeah. How has the wokeness changed the music space? How do you think?
It kind of depends, right? But I feel right now everyone's going through a super psychedelic phase in all music. You look at all these rappers, suddenly I'm you guys do some DMT? You can just see it in all their visuals. Right. So I feel the pandemic has been a very psychedelic time for a lot of people. So it's kind of broke people.
You sipping lean? It's no, it's just shroom tea. Yeah.
For real.
Do you think it's going to continue into the year when people are partying and whatnot? Or
people are going to still be back on their shit. It's fun to be back in society for that, but I think a lot of people did some growing. We had nothing else to do, so just to self-reflect. It doesn't mean you have to grown, but at least to look at yourself and be like, what am I gonna do?
I want to kind of take it back to when we first met you too. I feel like at the time, I probably maybe knew 3 female producers and DJs at the time. You know, and you were one of them, and you were like playing the local scene with beat battles and whatnot. You know, like I feel like now in the music space, it's been over 10 years now, and there's been a huge change, and specifically in the rap space, it's like women dominated. Yeah. Like, would you say has the same thing has happened for like the producer and DJ scene, or what?
There's a lot more now. I think that if you, I mean, I've always been really optimistic, right? Like, it kind of wasn't the scene where they made it easy for you to thrive as a female. You know, like being in rap is like that world is especially, you know, just like historically misogynistic, et cetera, et cetera. But you just give a woman opportunity to shine, and they're going to show you what they can bring to your world, you know? And now with producing, like, people actually, like, even like a Wonder Girl or something, you know, people are like, oh yeah, you know, these girls are dope. And it's not just because they're girls, they're just human beings that make really good music. And I hope that at some point we don't have to be like, you're this dude or you're a dude and you're a girl. Just be like, you guys just make good music, and we don't have to think about like labels.
The misogyny has happened, and like the funny thing about music misogyny is like people don't realize that they're being misogynistic by little comments like, oh yeah, she's on because she dated this guy, and things like that. And that happened a lot in producer scenes, rapper scenes. For sure. They already automatically assume your success is because of a relationship of some sort.
Exactly.
You know, and I feel like that's happened a lot even in the rap space. You know, like I look at the recent rap thing like Coi Leray or something. Like a lot of, they've been hating on her so hard, which feels like extra a little bit. Right. You know, not just like regular hate, but they associate her with like Trippie Redd, you know, being like she wouldn't have a career if it was for Trippie Redd or some shit. And I feel like that's just very unfair.
Fuck that, dude.
You know, it just teaches you like, don't date musicians because if you don't want, which is unfair, right?
Wait. No, I'm kidding.
You should. I mean, like for a lot of women that I know, it's like if you've gone through one relationship with a musician and then people start doing this thing where they start attributing what you do to that person, you'll never date one ever again. You know, it's like, but it shouldn't be that way. You should just like date whoever you like and like not have to think about that. But in this like weird self-protective way, you're like, well, I know that when I dated this producer guy, like whatever, like 15 years ago, everyone started thinking that he did all my shit, or that like everything I did was he was responsible for everything that I did, etc. I was like, I don't want to really deal with that again. So then I decided at that point, like it became unattractive when someone was like too similar in my space. But I think musicians that are not in your space, like if you like, I decided to date like an indie rock guy, then I think probably wouldn't feel as weird.
Do you think it's the same thing for like a woman when the woman's, you know, the musician and they're dating someone else and they, you know, they pop off because of that, the female musician? Is it correlated in that way as much?
You know, now it is. I think now it's like if you have like some dude dating like a Cardi B or whatever, people are going to look at him and be like, maybe you're only shining because you're dating like Rihanna or whoever. You know, if you're like popping off really hard as a girl and as a woman, that you're going to just tower over any of your male like partners, boyfriends, girl, whatever. I guess that's a sign of equality. I don't know.
Shout out to Kevin Featherline, who was the OG, I believe. Let's go. The guy who milked the shit out of that. No, I mean, yeah, I think long as you're okay with yourself, you're not insecure about it, like you can exist in those kind of relationships. You know what I mean? But is that a kind of a piece of advice you would actually give to other musicians coming up? Like, don't date another musician?
No. I shouldn't say that. I think for me, it's just like you have one bad story and then you create a myth about all these people, right? Like if you date a musician once and then this scenario happens where people are like, yeah, you know, it's not you, it's him, whatever. It doesn't mean the next time it's going to be like that. It's not going to mean the time after that. You create this myth like, okay, if I date this guy that's a musician, they're all going to do that. And it's not. But I think for me, it's like, and since then I have dated other musicians, but you have to do what's right for you. And for me, it's like, sometimes like, I don't know, musicians are like less attractive now. Maybe that's just, I don't know if that's like self-preservation, but.
What, the lifestyle in particular or?
Maybe the lifestyle. but also just like when you're doing so much in your own life, like someone has to hold it down a little bit. So it's nice to have like a partner that balances you out. And so if I'm the one that's like out and about and touring and gone, which usually historically is like the male model, like that's usually the dude leaving on tour, the dude, and the girl holds it down. For me, I need like it works better if I have a guy that kind of holds it down, is not doing the same thing. How
have you balanced, you know, because I'm kind of going through this right now where I've kind of removed myself from this toxic hustle culture mind state, and I think a lot of people have been doing that in this past year or so.
Right.
Just kind of slow down and being like, yo, I'm gonna sacrifice some of the times I could be working full on to be present, extracurricular activities. You know, go to the beach, soak in the sun. I've been doing all that, and I want to ask you because I feel like you've balanced that really well. Every time I talk to you, you go on these little excursions and all that.
It's like, for me, I just started getting so exhausted that I started to dislike what I do. You don't want that. You're like, this is a blessing to do music, to be out here, to live this life, and you start to resent that. You have to go and like really take a step back and
reset.
Yeah, reset and just look and observe and be like, why do I feel this way? And then you realize, oh, it's because I'm doing it so much that it's not fun anymore. So for me, saying no is really powerful. Also, just a good business decision. Sometimes just say no, because you'll like every time you say no, something will come around that'll pay you twice as much. That'll make up for that, anyways.
I feel like you know, we talk so much about like our parents, right? Sacrificing so much time and working so hard every day,
right?
And then automatically people's thought is like, because of that, we have to work hard.
Yeah.
But actually, what the action should be is like, because of the sacrifice, you should be able to do the things they weren't able to do,
100%.
and that is taking time for yourself, mental health, and enjoying life. And so I started kind of rewiring the way I think about that, because in the beginning it was automatically like, they sacrifice so much, so I have to grind.
There's so much pressure, man.
But it's actually the opposite. You actually, what they would want you to do is actually enjoy your life.
They grinded that hard so you could coast. You know
exactly. And then I flipped this rewiring thing where originally I looked at it as like, my parents kind of failed first, like in the American dream, so I gotta continue it.
Exactly.
But I realized, no, it's not failure, it's actually sacrifice, and that's how I'm kind of learning to live my life now.
I'm proud of you, bro.
Someone was telling me recently that like, to get to your Korean parents, you have to use sacrifice and guilt, because that's what they use on you.
Damn.
So let's say hypothetically you wanted to get your parents on this podcast, and they'd be like, oh hell no. If you said, oh, like, mom, dad, it's because you're so dope, they'd be like, nah. But if you go, no, I need you to do this, I need you to like do this for me, it's so important, because like if you don't do this, whatever, then they'll be like, okay, I have to do it.
Yeah.
So weird.
Wow, that is true.
This is like this manipulation shit.
But they do that to us.
So it's allowed.
So it works the other way. But it's weird,
the
psychology, where if you just say something nice like, you would be so great at this, they'd be like, nah. But if you go like, oh, if you don't do this,
exactly,
all these bad things are gonna happen, because Koreans understand sacrifice.
I want to talk to you about, I mean, I feel like I don't want to go into just like, oh, how do your parents feel about what you do? It's more like, you've been in this for a long time, so I want to kind of actually just ask you about, how have your parents come to this long of a career that you've had, and like, how do they look at your career now, you know?
I mean, I have like a single mother, and so she worries about me a lot, and I'm like the youngest, and my sister's like a lawyer, so it's like a pretty not this like so different than what she wanted me to do. But
it's a steady career at this point. You've been
in
it
now
10
she's
years.
Not even, now she's not even tripping. She's like
she's just like, how's work?
Yeah.
She's like, how's work, right? Because she knows
and
the
she
deal.
Like sends me like really nice cacao messages being like, oh, my beautiful daughter, I love you so much. And I was like, dude, she was not. She like, when I was really young, she'd try to cut my hair off.
Yeah.
You know, like psychopath.
When did that change for you?
I think for her, she mellowed out a little bit, and then also felt more sure that I was okay.
Yeah. I mean, every year.
Often?
Maybe like once a year. She retired and lives with my sister in Fairfax, which is kind of like the area that Northern Virginia,
Virginia.
Yeah, not Fairfax.
Oh yeah, wrong one.
Yeah, but I mean, how at this point is she familiar with the industry? Like,
she tries to act like she knows. She'd be like,
does she send you like another like DJ, like a female? She's like, who's this bitch? Like,
She tries to be all like my business manager / lawyer, where she'll be like, oh, I just read this article in the Korean newspaper where a classical pianist was like, I don't know, gypped all his. I was just like a bunch of bad shit, like lost his money, bad manager, and I'm like, this is not the same thing.
So she's still worrying.
But that's cool.
You,
she's still trying to like involve herself in the.
When you look at it that way, it seems really sweet. But when you look at it from my lens, I'm like,
for sure,
just let me do my shit.
She sends you some producer's beat, like, yo, he's biting her shit.
No, now it's going to this other thing where all my younger extended family that are kind of getting into music. Now we have families going like, oh, well, Jen, you know, she does this
exactly,
and so I'm like. He does classical guitar. I don't know how to help him, but they'll just be like, ask, you know, like
that
is
like, always the funniest thing, right? If there's slightly connection, they're trying to connect you. I get that once in a while too. Like, oh, this guy plays cello or something. I'm like, what do you want me to do with him? Like, I don't understand. I mean, I'm sure there's a way to implement it. To be honest, but
guitars on it. Where guitars on it? What do we get?
Nah.
Damn.
But that's pretty cool. I mean, have you ran? This is something I'm always curious about nowadays when you have other Korean families now like having conversations, and now there's so many new generation kids that are in unconventional professions.
Right.
Have you ran into anybody else's son or daughter or cousin that does like something in this field?
Like professionally?
Yeah, like professionally, like another family son or daughter that's like a rapper.
My sister's like nephew-in-law. So my brother-in-law's like nephew. He started making beats on SoundCloud, and then he was getting bigged up by like Snake Hips and stuff. And I was like, oh, good job. But I think now he's like going to like law school or medical.
I can't wait to hear those combos. Like, oh, my son's a SoundCloud rapper. He goes to school in Florida. He's a SoundCloud rapper. Yeah, no.
Oh my god.
Do they refer to you guys as like the mentor? Like when there's someone in the family that they're like, oh, I want to be a musician or whatever. Like I want to be a creative. They're like, oh, go talk to this person.
Oh, I don't have a big family. That's the thing. I wish that I had some like young
super huge either. I only know like half of it.
I always thought that would be kind of cool to have like little cousins or something that want to be rappers. I'm like, oh, you got some shit spit, you know? Like,
but what if they're really bad?
I mean, you know, everyone's. I don't mind the bad part, but because everyone gets, you know, you get better with practice. That's it's not like everyone's born with.
So you guys see that drive, you know?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's really born with it. I think you gotta just practice. That's all it is.
Have you guys I mean, not that you guys are older, but you guys are kind of a bit in a different age. I'm just wondering, like, at that point, do you start wanting to mentor? I'm sorry. Do you guys like want to mentor some, like, or have you mentored?
Yeah.
Look, I'll tell you right now, I haven't even wanted to mentor anybody, but I ended up mentoring people. Right. Like, you kind of just fall into that area where people are gonna look up to you, they ask you for advice, and you're gonna naturally respond. I'm not gonna be like, I don't want to.
I literally asked last week. I was like, we were just drinking. I was like, can you mentor me? Like I wanted to be under his mentorship. You have
few. What makes a good, like, if you want to be someone that wants to mentor somebody, what's the term for the opposite? The apprentice?
Mentee.
So to be a good mentee, what are like good things, a good mentee, and then what's like really something fucking annoying about a mentee? I'll
tell you, that's a good question actually, because a lot of people always ask about the mentor, but the mentee has to have the right mentality. What I mean by that is because I was a mentee to a mentor of mine, Brian Lee. Oh, actually, we got to talk about that too.
Let's go.
Brian Lee was my manager, my first ever manager, and an early mentor that really helped me set up my career today. And I'll always say that. But this dude, first of all, I met him through Jen, actually.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of people don't know this.
Wow.
So he was a photographer. He was doing it as a hobby. And they were friends from college or something?
Yeah, college. He's actually like a little bit older, but then still, I guess, like kind of a college friend still.
Okay.
So they were college friends, and at the time, both of us are, like grinding, being independent artists, and she's like, yo, you need press photos, whatever. Like, she might have taken some photos for her. Yeah. Links me up. I meet this guy. I need press photos. So we're taking photos, and while he's taking photos, he's like, what's your 1-year plan? What's your 5-year plan? I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Yeah, I've never been asked that. Like, what my 5-year plan was, like, at that age, And so we're having a conversation. He starts throwing out ideas on what I could be doing. Because at the time, I'm getting, like, millions of views on battles. But he's like, these aren't even on your channel. Like, you don't own any of this. Damn. But I was like, what do you mean? I didn't give a fuck, So we start talking about things, and all of a sudden, naturally, we start hanging out. and he starts managing me. And I was just his first ever artist that he's managed, but you can tell he wanted to build something, you know? So I'm working with him, but I noticed there was a problem, like as he was mentoring me, like I was really good at talking my way out of things and being lazy by doing that.
Yeah, you got to show up.
I didn't have any disciplinary figures growing up. My parents were always at work. We have a language barrier, so when they need like a report card signed, they were just like, you sign it. Exactly. So I just got away with shit. When I dropped out of high school, my parents didn't know for like a year and a half. You know what I'm saying? Like
a year and a half?
Yeah, they didn't even know I dropped out of high school. They were so busy, you know? So I'm doing it, and then he was the one guy who, if I talk my way out of things, he just like he blocked me. He knew what I was doing, you know. So you need that one person in life that is gonna be able to check you. Like you're gonna hit him with a check, they're gonna be like checkmate. You know, he was that guy, and I realized I had this thing. I had this always excuses, a wall up that I had to kind of take down. Yeah, and that's what I learned. If you want to be a good mentee, just shut up and listen. Just shut up.
You have to show up and do the things, you know. And I think a good mentor is always someone that holds you accountable. Right. But like you mentioned this earlier about being a good mentor, like Dum said, you didn't even choose. Like you ended up mentoring people. What I think people don't realize is people in role model like roles. If that makes sense. Yeah. Half the time you don't choose. Like I don't choose to be a role model for anyone. Like. And neither do you, but what ends up happening is you become a role model and then you, I guess, responsibly try to take ownership of that. Some people are like, I'm not a role model. I'm not here to be a role model. But I think there's something good about being like, okay, I didn't choose to be in this position, but now that there's like younger people that look towards you to be like, because you did it, I think I can do it. You got to show up for them too.
It's there. You can keep denying it, but it's there. You know what I mean? It's like a Peter Parker thing. With great responsibility, great power comes great responsibility. That's real shit. That's true. You get to that point, you can keep saying it, but you clearly have a thing there, and you're responsible for that. Like people are listening to everything you're saying. And and looking at you as an example. So I don't know. I think a part of that is just growing up, accepting that responsibility. Yeah. Right?
I mean, honestly, a lot of mentorship, exactly like what she said, it organically forms, you know? You don't always like have to state that this is a mentorship. Like me being around peers that are just like working hard, that's a mentorship to me. Like I see it from afar. Like me being next to them in the studio, just even seeing their like life decisions. Yeah. Like when they're killing it, like I feel inspired and almost like that competitive spirit. You know, I want to learn from that. Like I'm blessed every day to be surrounded with people that are successful, you know what I mean, and like in the same like realm that I'm in. You know, we didn't go the corporate ladder route. We followed our dreams, but when we were younger, it's like, oh, the discipline was weaker. It was more about like, yo, let's chase it, you know what I mean? Let's dive into it. But then there's this shift where it's just like, okay, but if you're not responsible, if you don't show up, if you don't wake up, then you're gonna fail. And just seeing people step up in that, it's mentorship.
Representing a big community, like, you know, like Jen, she represents a lot of women, 100%. Right? And then accepting that responsibility is really selflessness. You know, when you get older, being like it's bigger than me is selflessness. It's like letting go of your selfishness, and I think there's a lot to like. That's how you really feel like you can respect an artist. I feel like when it's bigger than them. Yeah.
Do you think about this is like existential, like weird question. Do you ever think about like if you're gonna have kids?
When?
Or if?
Oh, if or when? Do I think about it? Yeah, I do think about it, and so I'm kind of scared about it a little bit.
But is that something that you make a life goal? Like, I need to have kids?
No.
You know, you meet homies that are like, my life goal is to have a family. Like Lewis, my manager, he was so happy to have like a little girl, but because I think it could rewrite his story and how he grew up. For me, it's like, I don't know if I need kids, because like the music and the influence that has, that's like my legacy. People have kids for like legacy and things like that. I'm like, I don't really know if I need
I have sons already right now, dude. I got kids.
But that's actually a good point, because I do feel like you brought up a really good point, because everyone thinks of it as a legacy, but it's like, it's not that far off to what you leave in this other space, you know, with one kid or whatnot. I don't know if there's like an ego thing there sometimes.
No,
you know?
I mean, I agree and disagree. I think it's like one dimension. Definitely there's that legacy, what you do with your work, you know what I mean? And the peers that you have. But with a son, or, you know, with your own blood, it's much more than just the performance part of it, you know, or like the work part of it.
I've let go of the idea that kids are a legacy for me. Like I've grown out of that, and that was early on. I was all about that. I've grown out of it because now what having a kid means to me is a type of life experience that I never will get to have unless I have a kid.
Right.
Because I see people with kids and they're experiencing something else.
Yeah,
like that's
100%.
And my life goal has become now to experience as much as I can while I'm alive.
Yeah.
And that is definitely one of those life things I feel like would be great to experience.
You should come to Burning Man.
How many Burning Man?
I thought we're here right now.
3 or 4, something like that.
I definitely want to go.
Yo, this is
wild.
Is it coming back or what?
This year I don't know. I mean, I'm not like as crazy burner as like a lot of people out there, but it's pretty lit.
Hell yeah, I want to run around butt naked with Jeff Bezos. Let's go, Jeff. No, I'm kidding.
So,
it looks lit. It looks
lit.
lit.
What's the just Burning Man for dummies? Like, what exactly is Burning Man?
Okay, so it's always gonna look weirder from the outside. So I refused to go for like a long ass time because I know all these people that would go. My manager would go and they'd be like, "Yeah, Jen, you'll just love this." I'm like, "Okay, you guys are hella dirty, a bunch of hippies."
Right.
You know, like people with dreadlocks. I don't think you're supposed to have them. You know, it's like a weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird scenario, and I don't identify with what visually you think of when you think of Burning Man. But then my friends started going like Laura Fama and like.
Yep.
Good homies would go, and I was like, well, I trust them. They're not corny. They're not weird. They're like, they would come back and just be like, wow, that was really amazing. And instead of being like anti, I was like, oh, I'll try it. I'll go here. So then I went and I was like, dude, this is so much fun. And I think people are really apprehensive because when anyone has a life-changing experience, people ultimately think like cult, something weird, you know?
That's a good point.
In reality, it's just like, it's like a fun festival in the desert where everyone's allowed to just be free. And that's it.
Wow.
I'm down.
You do see
I
people
wanna go
sometimes.
to one of those.
Yeah.
I'm down for
Sometimes
that.
you see men with like shirts and no pants, but it's cool.
Yeah.
We could have a fun with dumb Burning Man retreat. How
Yeah.
about that?
Burn with dumb.
Although I don't think Steffi would even care for that right there.
I think
I'll
it'll be
go
fun.
alone.
I haven't been to a music festival, so I want to.
Oh, she's never been to a music festival.
Anyone. Oh, come to Coachella whenever that is
I'm
next
down
year.
to do that.
Come to.
Yes.
You just got to go to a TOKiMONSTA.
Yeah, I know.
You're at a
Monster
music
show.
festival.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, no, but because she has a lot. Like, actually, we can go to that convo where you consider yourself to be a late bloomer.
Yeah, I am.
So do you feel like this is the time where you're going to try to squeeze in all these life experiences that you may have missed out on in your 20s?
Yeah, and I think I have been. And I think a lot of it came from the fact of always being in some sort of, I think it's funny because I looked up your history a bit because I knew we had met a couple times before in the past. You're very smart and articulate.
Oh, thank you. Sometimes.
We had some conversations, yeah. And so, like we came from Torrance, which was interesting.
Single parents.
Single mom.
Yeah.
And also Zot. I went to Irvine.
Oh, right.
You know
I
why?
saw
'Cause,
that.
like 80% of the high school graduates from Torrance just all end up there. I was like, I went to Irvine. I'm like, this basically seems like high school because everyone was there.
Yeah.
Wow, that
So
is a
it's
lot of
interesting.
similarities, actually.
But it's interesting because you started a career like in this industry very early on, right? Like were your parents like allowing you to be in that world, or you just like forced yourself into this
Yeah,
space?
basically it was like, okay, I'll do what my parents require. I went to college, I got a normal job. At night I'll go to Lowen Theory, at night I'll go to like Limerick Park or whatever, you know, and do my thing while understanding that this is not what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. This is just a hobby. It's super impractical because your parents tell you like, you can't do this.
Right.
You get piano lessons, they don't really want you to become a pianist. You know?
Yeah.
Wow, it's
And
true.
I think because you're the younger sibling, does your sister have that same role, or does she take on like more of the parental role, I guess, and doing them? Because you said she's a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
So like, is that why you had more of the freedom? Because I think of my younger sister, and she kind of did experience kind of more of what you know.
That's a good point. I don't know if
Yeah.
a parent
I
can handle
was-
two producers in the family. Oh, she's doing lawyer. Okay, there's a little go to Lowen.
Yeah. It's like my sister's so much older than me. She's 13 years older, right?
Right.
Oh, okay.
So
that's
she really
huge.
was a parental role, but she was also like out of the house when I was really young. Like by 5th grade, she was like married, and then she went to law school like even before then. So like when I was in elementary school, she was already going through law school and stuff.
Wow.
So she is kind of a parental figure, but more in the way that she would bridge the gap between me and my mom, because my mom was also hella old. Don't tell her that. But like if there was a crazy moment where like I'm acting out and my mom's like chasing me into the street trying to cut my hair off, I'll like call my sister and be like, "Mom's being like crazy, whatever." And she'll be like, "Okay, give the phone to me," because my sister also speaks like really impeccable Korean,
Right?
Because she grew up in Korea.
어머니.
Yeah.
So
she did. She grew
yeah.
up.
Well, she grew up in she was born in Tennessee, and then moved to Korea when she was in elementary school, like 6th grade to 5th grade. So basically, then had to learn Korean, forget English, come back to America, and then have to relearn English again.
Wow.
Yeah. So she's had a really hard life. So I look up to her a lot. She's like super supportive, but now we're like, it's lit. Like we went to Vegas and I like gave her a bunch of money to go on the blackjack table. We're just like sitting there. I'm getting her drunk. So it's like different.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
That's awesome.
But then growing up, she was kind of in that role, but she was also very honorable older Korean sibling. Like she did the thing that she was supposed to do. So she went to law school. She also went to UC Irvine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
know. We're just like,
I know. It's really embarrassing. So for Irvine, people don't know UC Irvine, their mascot is an anteater, and that's like the sign.
But what's the
so
Zod?
weird.
Zod? Is
That's
that
the sound that it makes.
the
Does it?
Instead
actual
of like a moo
anteaters?
or a bark, it's a zot. That's the sound
wow.
it makes.
Zod.
Yeah.
We'd have like foam fingers that look like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how to feel about it. I think it's kind of cool in retrospect. I don't know.
Yeah.
So my younger sister has like partied. She started partying a lot younger than I did, and I felt like I had to be a parent and like a good role model. So I didn't do any of that stuff. So like when we go back to the question you're saying is that like I am now living out my life and doing all the things that I've wanted to do.
Wow.
So that's like a
Did you ever resent your sister because she got to do all these
She had
things
the
that you
essence of
feel
freedom.
like you didn't?
no.
Were you ever like, I want to pop Molly and go to festival too?
I used to be such a narc about it. Like everything. I
You
was
actually
like,
enjoyed being the straight edge. You know what I mean?
no, I didn't. Because my friends weren't like that in college. Like all my friends were all doing drugs. I wasn't. But then like I just didn't want my sister like to die. Like I thought if she smoked weed, like she would die. Like that was like just my mindset.
Misinformation.
Nerd alert!
Right, I know. And so
You know, actually, to even go off what you're saying, for my sister too, I feel like she was so responsible my whole life for me that she smoked weed for the first time like last year with me.
yeah, dude, that's
You know?
like yeah, totally. I relate to that.
Yeah,
That's
so now it's like she can go and have fun, and I can take her to have these experiences and do fun things.
you guys
and-
are like friends now.
That's
like
awesome.
real friends. Yeah.
Exactly, and she can, give me honest advice. I can be really honest with her. She's not super scoldy, but she also holds me accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next time, Toki's playing a festival somewhere close or whatever. We'll
We'll definitely have to.
We'll
go.
Yeah,
Definitely,
I'm
yeah,
playing
definitely.
Splash House. You guys should come. It's Palm Springs.
Let's give her
Yeah.
her first music festival
Let's
experience
go.
like
Wait,
no
when is
other.
Splash House?
It's like in 3 weeks.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
down.
down.
I'm ready to crack these glow sticks and beads and
It's Splash House
flutter.
though. It's just like it's Coachella's pool party.
Yeah, it's a day party. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
But it does get a little ravey at night, I think.
That's
I play
what's
the
up,
day party. I like a good
Puzz
pool party.
nuts.
I'm a slave to the rave.
You just have to go and like design your career so that wherever you go, you can be by a pool.
Right.
I'm working on it.
I mean, so for a lot of people when they hear about like kind of the gigs you have, it seems like a very fun lifestyle. Is it kind of like everything you expected, like coming into the game, and does it feel like a dream come true?
It does if I remind myself, but you know how I was saying earlier, like I was starting to resent it because I'm constantly away. Imagine flying every weekend, not seeing your friends, having no experiences in the places that you're going. You just show up, you play, and then you leave.
Right.
The emotional kind of mental load that it takes to constantly also meet new people every single day.
Yeah,
True.
That's
And
True.
then like be polite and be nice, and it's really fatiguing.
Yeah.
And
Not
also
to
just
mention
like you
just the
can't sleep.
physical fatigue too.
Yeah, I mean the good thing is like when I tour really often, it's not like I'm partying every night drinking. I usually go maybe have like a beer and then
you
go
got
on
to pace
stage.
yourself too. That's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
And I mean I party way harder when I'm just like with you guys not
Yeah.
working. So
True. We've seen it.
yeah.
True.
But it is I have to remind myself to be grateful. And that's kind of like where the Twitter thing came from. Like I have to say these things to remind myself that it's true. Otherwise I'll lose sight of how amazing it is to be where I am and how hard we all work to be where we are, and trying to focus on the glass half full than the half empty.
Yeah.
And once you start resenting what you do, it's like that's not the person I want to be. I don't want to be the person that's like, oh, I have to play Coachella, what a drag, or something, you know?
Right.
It's like anyone who hears that is just gonna roll their eyes at you. Look at this.
Yeah.
I gotta go unclog a toilet tomorrow.
Exactly.
No.
But yeah, no, it's gratitude.
It is.
That's why it's like a reoccurring word that comes up a lot with mental health. Gratitude, right? Like, what was that?
What's what?
You rolled your eyes without rolling your eyes at me.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
But I know, like, our homie, Adam goes ham.
Oh, you know.
Yeah, Adam, who does ham on everything.
You should come
He throws a weekly journaling thing every Sunday morning at a park where he's already gathered like 100, 200 people every week where they come and they like journal out what they're grateful for. It's become like a huge thing in LA.
Like
Wow,
people actually
I had
get
no
together.
idea.
Yeah, Adam
you guys
goes
should
ham.
come out next time.
You know
It's really
Adam
fun.
from ham
Yeah,
on everything.
Yeah.
Like old friend, a lot of us in the LA scene because he's throwing a lot of these like underground parties that were pretty wild back in the
they're
day.
pretty
Right.
wild.
They were
They're
wild. So this
Yeah.
is like an interesting juxtaposition of like the things he's doing right now because
Right.
he's in a good place.
Like, he had like a sound bath going. I went one time with my sister on Sunday.
Maybe I saw you guys post something.
Yeah.
Someone posted something. Yeah.
Oh, actually, I posted it too. Yeah, I
you've been
reposted.
there?
I just reposted his
Sound
thing.
baths are big right now.
Sound
Yeah.
bath.
Crystal singing bowls. That's like
I'd be falling asleep.
Yeah.
it's
You
kind
know?
it's kind
No,
of
it's
beautiful
okay.
sounding.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
relaxing.
I
You know, I
love
went to one in Palm Springs. You know that dome that's supposed to have like a crazy
I
energy.
oh crap.
Forgot what it's called.
the
Some weird name.
something-a-tron, cyclotron.
Yeah. I went to that. And then I started snoring, and my friend like slapped me because they tell you not to fall
You're not
asleep.
supposed
Right,
to, yeah.
Because it's rude, you know. You're like
Yeah,
fucking.
yeah.
It also like reverberates apparently. I haven't been. You have to make an appointment for that thing.
Yeah. So I did, and I'm all about that. I'm on that wave right now. I think we all are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We should go to Holistic
we go
Energy,
this
baby.
Sunday, I think if he has one this Sunday.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
I agree though. The gratitude, you have to also discipline yourself to write it out and proclaim it, you know? Like I think Oprah or like I forget
It's like manifesting something.
manifesting it, exactly. It's just I mean more than that, it's reminding yourself we tend to remember the bad things more.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? We tend to remember the negative, but just to go a little bit extra and remind yourself of the good, it sounds so like unnecessary, but it's night and day.
Yeah.
You know, like that, and that goes journaling, whether it's praying, whether it's meditating. That's it's the same thing. It's just proclaiming. You're grateful.
Honestly, one habit that I'll tell any aspiring artists or whatnot is just writing down stuff in general.
For sure.
You know, your ideas and stuff. You got to get in the habit of going into your notes and just putting a one-liner thing. Because I'm doing music, stand-up, all that stuff. There was a time in my life where I had to make that a habit. I never did that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, like, if you don't write that, you will forget.
You will forget.
You will forget
100%.
so easily.
And then there's that one moment where you hate yourself for not writing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always regret. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn it. Because I tell myself, no, I'm not going to forget. And then when I do, I'm like, God damn it, Rick. Why didn't you write that shit down, dude? You hate yourself.
A calendar.
Yeah.
Get on your
A
calendar.
little black book even.
Just
you
put
know?
Write
things in there.
everything.
Everything.
Yeah. Go to Muji.
I think that was like for producers, maybe it's different. People like hum a voice note, but
Right.
I didn't learn this idea of writing down just ideas until like I met this guy who was like, I guess he's like a writer and an animator, but he also like will do stuff for like South Park, etc. And he writes down everything, and he has like very cool thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Whether it goes in a tweet, whether it goes in a joke, whether it goes in as a lyric in a song, just having a thought and you're like, that's a cool thought. It's fine. Just write it down. You might not even use it. Maybe like a day or two later, you're like, that was a really whack thought. You ever look at your like Twitter, your drafts, and you're like, oh, these ones are not good. These ones are not good. And you're just, like,
tweets were my notes for a while.
Right.
Like just one-liner,
Yeah,
funny
yeah, yeah.
things, and I started writing on the notes because I was like, oh, I'm
How
gonna get
often do
canceled for this.
How often do you guys send like voice memos instead of, or not, the voice messages?
Yeah,
I've been noticing a lot of my friends are now doing that versus just having text conversations.
It depends on how busy my hands are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if
but
I'm
is that
doing
a new
something.
thing? Like this year, I just feel like everyone's been
A
doing
lot
this
of people are starting to do that. And I'm
Yeah.
weird because
Sending
I don't like
voice
hearing my
messages?
voice
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time. So I'm like, I don't want.
And do you keep them all?
I
mean,
keep
it's saved
the ones I
on
like.
messages, yeah.
I feel like I hoard them.
I don't send a lot of voice. Like when somebody that I don't know to sends me a voice note, I usually text back.
Yeah, that's what I
'Cause
do.
get a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit
but yo,
like
chill,
I
bro.
freeze up. I get shy.
Right,
and
right,
shit.
right.
I was like, nah, man, what's good? Oh, fuck.
I think it's the new sexting too. I think people
Voice notes.
Yes, people are like doing that more.
I wonder
Let's
if
get
anyone in the chat has
shawty.
ever sexted with a voice note. Is that a thing?
I think it is.
That's
I
like
think
really like more revealing, because the whole thing about sexting is like you're not
For sure.
You're not in person doing it, and you're you can like hide behind your text, but once it's voice, and it's
that's so much more embarrassing than a screenshot of
baby,
your
I want to
nudes.
see your pee-pee.
I know.
Think about how much more embarrassing that would be than a screenshot of your dick. It's just like, what's good, shawty? Oh, fuck.
And you re-listen to it,
Public.
and you're like, that doesn't sound sexy enough, so you do it 3 more times.
But you keep it. Someone's gonna keep it, and they're gonna have like a whole Dropbox folder full of all of these like weird voice memos from that dude, just waiting for a day to use it.
Oh, the voice note? You got a voice note? Oh man.
You know, Dumb's voice note went public. Oh, fuck. God damn it.
It holds you hella accountable too, because you can't be like, oh, someone stole my
For sure.
voice.
This is
You know?
me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
me.
I'm rapping a sexting message to them and shit.
That's not my voice.
Yeah.
I want to talk about. I mean, a lot of people know the story, but a lot of people who may not be familiar. There was a life-changing event that you went through a couple years back, where you were diagnosed with a rare brain disease. What was it called?
It's called Moyamoya.
Moyamoya, super cute name.
I know.
Korean means like, what is that?
What is that?
What is that?
Moyamoya.
What is that?
And doctors didn't know for a while. No.
Yeah, basically, it's an illness that is very it's like the majority of it. It's rare, but the majority of it does happen in East Asia. So it's actually a Japanese name. Moyamoya means like puff of smoke in Japanese. It is common in Koreans, East Asians, but not only. It's like anyone.
Right.
And I was just on tour one year, 2015, and with Breezy Anderson was on it too. And in the middle of the tour, I was like complaining about my shoulder to my doctor, but also I had this weird experience at my place where I couldn't feel my foot. Like I was walking and suddenly I almost tripped because I couldn't tell where my foot started. Oh, so then I go to my doctor and I was like, hey, this is not super normal. I've actually had a bunch of brain scans in the past when I started getting migraines in college. But, you know, like some doctors are like, just watch it. It's kind of, you know, there's like one weird abnormality in your arteries supplying blood to your brain. So it had always been in the back of my mind, but I had just been fine, just living. So I go to the doctor, we get a scan, and turns out that one abnormality I had maybe like 5 or 6 years earlier got really bad, and there's multiple abnormalities now. So I only had about 10% of blood flow on the left artery supplying blood to this side of my brain, and then like 8 on the other side.
That's wild.
And the reason why I was alive and functional is your brain starts to grow these tiny little veins that looks like a puff of smoke in the imaging.
Right.
Whoa,
So it's almost like if the 405 shuts down, what are you going to do? You're going to start getting off.
Exits.
Yeah, and then take these like side roads and street roads, but they're not meant to handle that many cars.
It's beautiful that your body does that though. Like it wants to keep you alive and going.
It's pretty crazy. Like when you look at the brain scan, there's one artery that came from my spine. Obviously, artery is really important. That's how we get blood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We
I was like, is that me?
actually have her direct X-rays.
I was like, I don't think that's.
We've actually hit up your doctor directly, and we've received your MRI scans.
Puff of smoke number 2.
And I was like, wait, is that it? No, mine actually looked way crazier because mine didn't have that much blood. You can see the blood in that one.
Yeah.
Mine just like you see it go, and then there's a knot, and then you see nothing after.
That's crazy.
And then the side, like the results of that. It directly connected with your ability, right, to make music.
Well, basically, in order for me to not die, I had to get this crazy surgery where they grafted the arteries from my scalp onto my brain. So basically, none of these arteries are feeding my brain right now. I'm completely alive from blood being fed from the top of my head, or back one here and one here. And so I know it sounds insane, right?
That sounds crazy.
I'm like a plant.
It's just like a rerouting thing. That's what they did. They rerouted the
created
blood
a couple new freeways, and now we're good.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
And during that time, it was rough. You said at post surgery.
Yeah, it was a result of the surgery itself that led to their known side effects. So aphasia, which is when you can't talk, you lose your ability to understand speech and to communicate, and then I also discovered I couldn't understand music anymore. So, I mean, honestly, like when you're in that survival mode, the craziest thing is not talking. So
Exactly.
every day I would just wake up and look at people and be like,
Wait.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what to
Did
say.
you recognize that you couldn't?
Yeah, I was so cognizant. So I had thoughts like, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I don't want to talk to you. I'm in pain, but I couldn't say anything.
So were you mostly writing?
I can't, no form of communication. It's like that part of your brain that can communicate in any way is completely just.
It has nothing
Oh,
to do with
God.
vocals or nothing. It's just all your
Yeah.
brain.
I couldn't
ability.
write anything.
So you're just speaking to yourself in your head. Wow.
I would imagine there's a lot of was there just the most
Yeah, it was
frustrating?
pretty frustrating. I think the first few days, the first like 4 days when it kicked in, because when I had the surgery, the aphasia wasn't crazy. It was like a little bit of skipping words, kind of like people when they have a stroke. But then I guess with the brain swelling, it got really bad. And I just woke up one day and I was like, I can't say anything.
Oh my God.
And then it was pretty bad because I didn't know what anyone was saying to me. But then
even
nothing. No language.
even someone's talking
no
to
communication.
You. Oh my god.
It's like English became a foreign language.
That's wild.
And then, it was pretty tough. But, the reason why I survived everything was being able to pinpoint ways in which things were improving. So even though I couldn't talk, maybe the next day I could say a word or two. And I was like, okay, this is cool. And then I had to
what
go
was
on.
the word?
Lo-fi.
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 I mean, it's the main thing for me in my recovery was I had to drink a fuck ton of water, like every day, like three liters of water. And so my sister was taking care of me at the time. She's just like, drink more water. I was like, I don't want to drink water. So that was like the main thing. I was just like, I was like, no, I didn't like. And then it was just like, I was like, man, this is a lot of water. So constantly like several bottles of water a day. And then, yeah, it just get better and better. It was really dependent on my blood pressure, actually. So I had to take blood pressure raising medication.
Wow.
Yeah.
The opposite joint.
Oh, salty food.
That is a scary time.
That's crazy.
Hey, yo, round of applause for
where it's-
TOKiMONSTA fucking getting through
Yeah,
that shit.
seriously.
Being very articulate now.
You know,
being
a
able to
crazy-
Also,
speak.
your sister's annoyance, like allowing you to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
speak
I
again.
know.
A
Yeah.
crazy thing about this story, I remember even after all that happened, that there was a TV show where they copied that kind of rare form disease that you went through, and it was the same storyline. The character was like a DJ or something.
Wow, hold up.
That was so fucked up, by the way. But I guess like you don't own your like intellectual rights to like your story or something crazy. But yeah, some like lame TV show.
There's like a medical TV show where like, every episode is like a rare medical
Yeah,
condition.
yeah.
And this girl has like a same kind of disease in the show.
That's fucking wow.
And I remember you tweeting about it. Everybody was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on,
that's
dude.
me,
Like,
dude.
yeah.
Yeah, that was like so no chill. Someone just tweeted, they're like, hey, this show, it was called not the interns. What is it? Like residents or something? Something to do with like like all of that. And they're like, yeah, did they ask you to do this? And I'm like, what? So I pull up my Hulu and I watch this episode. I'm like, you're fucking kidding me. So they have a girl who comes in who wants to be a DJ or who's like aspiring to be like a big DJ, big festivals, and she has the exact same illness as me.
That's right. Her name was TOKiMONSTA, which was
Yeah, exactly.
No.
She was watching like, boy.
No, but I
reach
remember you
out to
tweeting
them?
about this.
Did you ever?
I talked to my lawyer and stuff because, like, to be honest, I felt that was like,
Yeah.
like you're commodifying my
For sure.
story, which was like a really
And trauma,
difficult
pretty
time.
much, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is fucked up.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
And I don't know if it came from a place that, like, even if they just asked, be like, hey, the story, blah blah blah, maybe I'd be pretty chill. But just stealing it and then like reconfiguring it,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah, and also
Shame
the
on
way
you
that
guys.
they saved her, I'm like, it is not like that. They have like an
They had
emergency
to wrap it
surgery.
up at the
She's
end.
like completely normal. I'm like, this is not
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
a fair portrayal. I just thought it was pretty fucked
She's
up.
at the festival,
Yeah.
frozen, and then all of a sudden it just starts playing the drum pad. She's doing it. Yeah, that's amazing, and I remember reading all about that story, in the LA Weekly, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, really crazy like story
It's a
actually.
powerful ass story.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
How this disease affects you so directly with your music
With your
making ability,
creativity,
and I feel like that's such a scary thing, right? And we hear about these stories in athletes and stuff,
Yeah.
and how they overcome that, and that's really amazing, man.
Yeah. I think that's also a driving force behind why I take time to myself. You know, tomorrow's not guaranteed by any means. So do you want to live today being hella stressed out, or, you know, go to sound bath, you know, go relax, go do whatever, go run at the beach. You know, do you want to spend it like stressed out because you're constantly trying to hustle? Like, you've hustled enough. Take some days to like.
That's real. You know, honestly, we always hear that. It's like tomorrow's not guaranteed, but most of us are like, nah, I'm going to be here.
Yeah. You know what?
I thought I felt for a real long time. I felt invincible for some reason, you know?
I mean,
like,
nothing is more sobering than having to write a will, you know? And that's what I had to do.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You wrote a will?
Before my surgery, and I was like, who do I leave my cat with? Who do I leave my music with? Who's gonna do all this stuff? And you're like, yeah, I might like die, but then for me, my options are definitely die or do the surgery and maybe die. You know?
Damn, that's intense.
My neck hair is just.
Do you have to be on medication or anything to? Oh, you're.
Yeah, it's a crazy, like, feat of science how I'm alive, and I can go skydiving, I can go snorkeling, I can't go to space, so like none of that.
Space is out of the question, guys.
You're like,
that's not gonna happen.
Musk.
Elon's like, you want to come to space? It's like, sorry, I just can't.
I know. But yeah, you know,
you can make a track that can go up there.
Yeah, I know. There we go. Put it on a satellite.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's crazy. They're just like, yeah, you can live without any limitations. That's what they said to me. Once they knew that the grafts were working, they're like, you can like be responsible, but like, yeah.
Is it hereditary?
I think mostly not.
Yeah. And since then, you've put out mad albums, and recently scored beats on Nora from Queens.
Let's go.
I think you're sprinkled all over this season. You just literally scored the whole thing, right?
Yeah. Starting from episode 5 on,
Episode 5 on, if you hear the music, it's coming from TOKiMONSTA, which is great because we've actually all been friends with Nora for quite a while now. And that's a fun thing about kind of this circle is that we've seen each other come up from the very early stages, and including Anderson, Nora, Toki. Like me and Toki directly, we've been in this LA scene for a very long time.
For sure.
So that's amazing how everything has kind of come full circle with that, you know, because some of the episodes that you scored, I actually in it too. So I'm in one of the episodes.
That's so cool. You're in it.
She's in one too.
I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Look out for that quick cameo with Steffie in it. Yeah. That's going to be fantastic.
I peeped it. You guys absolutely killed it.
Everyone's told me they peeped it. I'm the only one that hasn't seen it.
I just had to I just watched it because I have to score.
How's the experience scoring something, you know, to visual? I mean, have you had experience doing that?
I've done some scoring before. TV shows are hard because it's like every week they're like, oh, you know, like where are the cues? I'm like, they're coming, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not used to, like, I set my own schedule.
So there's timelines they want,
like,
back and forths.
And even now they're just like, we need all the files. I'm like, there's like thousands of files.
Oh, I was like, that's wild.
Stems.
Yeah. But I have like a scoring assistant, so she's gonna help and stuff. But
that is cool though. That's really cool that, you know, Nora reached out to you because I remember early on when I was roommates with Nora, like, you know, 7-8 years ago in New York for a couple months, like just getting to kind of know her. She was really a big fan of you. Like, you know, because a lot of people don't know Aquafina was a producer and rapper. Like she made all the beats to the songs she was on that went viral. So she was like a beat head. Like she was literally making beats on MIDI controllers and all that. And one name that would always pop up is TOKiMONSTA's. You know, so there you go.
It's beautiful.
She produces like Rex stuff too right now.
She has done a beat for Rex.
I've seen that recently.
Her beats they slap too.
This comes a full circle.
Awesome.
We're gonna take some questions. People can call in too, so they're gonna ask some questions here.
First,
we're gonna put the Discord link. Please call in, guys. This is a good opportunity right here to ask directly to Toki herself. And any questions for? I know we got producers in our community too. You know, we have a lot of like women that's killing shit too in our chat too, and
definitely
artists, a lot of artist types. So hit us up on the Discord, and as it comes in, we'll take your calls. You can ask whatever. We have the whole crew back. Steffie's back from New York. You were out there for like 2 weeks or something like that.
I was in Boston and then I went to New York for a week.
Yeah. How was the East Coast? We missed you over here, buddy.
I had so much fun.
Did you?
She's living her best life.
I'm honestly
That's the theme now. Wait, I have a question. What is it like then? So if you were like this role model, like parental figure for your sister, and like now you're trying to be like a little bit more YOLO, is it like you're going in super hard?
Right.
Because like if you've been like kind of dabbling in like doing bad stuff or partying when you're young, I feel like I've always kept it kind of like I never like lost my shit, you know. But
is it
some
a crescendo
friends, like,
or is it you going all out?
That's funny.
It's like a deep dive into.
Yeah, I think because I lived more of a I was used to a very stable life, and I know what it's like. It's like I've lived my adult life in my 20s, like my younger 20s, I feel like, and when I was younger. And then so now it's like I am going pretty hard. I am doing I'm like, everything is about having as many experiences and not playing it safe.
Okay.
Like I'm overplaying it safe. So I'm having fun for sure. But I'm also obviously like very smart about it because I'm like aware of my past stable life. So I'm ready. I know what that side's like too. Yeah. So I'm able to like go back and rethink like, oh, if I do these things, can I be like, you know, I'm preparing myself for that life again. Yeah. It's just I need to have all these experiences.
She's on her eat, pray, love right now.
Yeah. She's on her eat, pray, love.
Yeah, that sounds more innocent, to be honest, than what I'm doing.
What's that thing like in like Amish society where they have like, is it Rumspringa or something? They like have that 1 week where they go into the real world and just go super YOLO and then decide if they want to come back.
Wait, is that a real thing?
That a real
That's
thing?
Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, you guys don't know that?
Yeah. And they're like, Wi-Fi? That's crazy.
Yeah, they have 1 week to go out into the world and decide if they want to stay out in the world. I wonder if anyone knows what it's called.
That sounds like an amazing movie idea.
Can we look that up real quick? No, I'm kidding. But that's funny.
That's how Alex came to be here. He was a week turned into a year, and he's like Cafe Blue.
Shout out to the ones that come back after the Rumspringa. They're like, nah,
it's too crazy out there. I want back in.
Shit.
Thank you everybody for tuning in here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start putting the calls out as a separate video. On YouTube.
Yeah.
Just the calls alone, so you'll be able to find the calls on as a separate video. Yeah. We don't put in the main interview. But I want to thank my co-host Rick Lee, Steffie Baik, of course Alex, our producer, and tune in next week for another episode of Fun with Dumb. Peace.
Peace.